Hey guys, what's going on? PigBenis here. Hope everybody's doing well, glovaling and hoffing. We are hunting Allofills, and I hope you guys like that picture, that screenshot. That was from, oh wow, 2006, June? May? Shit, I don't remember. But, actually, it should have the date right in the picture, but, that was one heck of a find. I think I was only playing the game maybe 7-8 months. I started at the end of 2005, and that picture really got me into the game. Like, that Hoff, rather, not that picture. It really hooked me, so to speak. So, yeah, it was, what was it, 1500 PED in PED. And then the EWE41, which at the time sold, I think it was about 1,000 PED I think I got for that gun at the time. It was quite considerable. So here we are on Sarah's Allofill farm. Wow, what, 7 years later? Hunting Allofills. And, you know, it's just really to blow off a gun and to finish up a gun that I was using the other night in a team hunt. So, and I figured I'd work a little bit towards my Iron Challenge in the Allofills, which I've never really did. You know, when Iron Challenges came about, I wasn't much into them at all, and I wasn't really hunting all that much. So, and they came about. Oh, geez, I don't know. Was it maybe 2010? I have no idea. But it's crazy to go back and to look at different screenshots from years ago. Now, I don't typically do a lot of screenshots anymore unless it's like a big Hoff or something. A lot of times I do run video though. But most of the times it just gets deleted. Especially screenshots, I typically don't keep them. But to go back and look at that screenshot, man, how much the game has changed is just so incredible. You know, they did a complete overhaul of the graphics. They fixed up the game engine a bit. You know, the whole layout of the screen, it was completely different back then. You couldn't move anything around. It was tough kind of setting hotbars and whatnot. So it was quite interesting. The pet and loot, which I kind of miss, but now there's more advantage to hunting with items because, you know, practically every item has some sort of markup. It may not be a lot. It may only be, you know, like 1%, but whereas back when we had pet and loot, you didn't have a markup on pet. So, and also we did not loot ammo as well. That's something that came about just a few years ago. So it was that, you know, I go back, I got a lot of those earlier Hoffs on PC. Ooh, that's a nice one. That's a nice loot right there. It's a lipstick here. Cool, good markup. 8 PED worth of lipstick and a lacerating chip. Nice. Of course they don't have any markup. So, so I guess that's about a 35-40 PED loot right there. So I don't expect to get much on the Allofills today. Last night I did fairly well on them. I actually only lost maybe 2 or 3 PED my entire trip, and I ran about 400 to 500 PED worth of ammo through these guys. And yeah, I did hit a global, a nice size global, 160 PED. It included Aurora male arm guards, which, you know, don't have much of a markup, and the rest was just oil. So there's not too much good loot on these anymore. It's really not worth hunting for markup. If it didn't have an attractive Iron Challenge, I probably wouldn't be hunting them right now. But the Iron Challenge for these guys for the first 100 is, well, your choice of prizes is or a skill set, whatever you want to call it, is .6 handgun, .4 athletics chip, and .2 bravado. So my bravado would not gain any sort of bonus for just a slight .2. My handgun, I think I would literally get 2 skill points if I chose that. If that, I may get like a fraction of a skill point. So I'm going to go with athletics only because it's probably only going to give like 10 to 20 skill points, and I'll, you know, athletics, you don't always kind of gains, so I'm going to go for that. I mean, typically you want to choose something that, in the long run, if you ever decide to chip out, you would want to do it economically and go for a skill that offers a bit of a markup, but which would probably be bravado in this case. But for point 2, you know, whatever. I'm not even gonna bother. Take a sip of my Fresca there. So after this, this is Allophil's or Sarah's Allophil farm. If I didn't mention that, I think I just mentioned that, but it is. I did a video here mining, like, oh my god, a year or 2 ago now, and I think we got a Belk Global here. It ended up being a pretty decent mining trip. The ores and end matters aren't so spectacular, but I mean, you really don't want to mine between all these mobs anyway. There's mollusk around too, they're just kind of hanging out. So my setup, I'm using a Cap 32. I've got an amp on it, I think it's an XR80. Not like necessarily super eco, especially the price of Cap and the amp being as high as they are. But there's just no other options right now that are really readily available. You know, the Camos came out a few months ago now, and I used it in a Riptor Rampage video back in December. And at that time they were quite abundant and they're really reasonable, and now you can't even find them. They're nowhere at all. It's kind of funny how that goes. You know, if you try looking for a course 350, you probably wouldn't find that gun either. So, I mean, the caps are somewhat readily available. It's just that they're expensive gun. They go for 120 to 130%, and it's ridiculous. So as far as economically hunting, as the weapon and damage end goes, it's simply not there. And I don't see any real alternatives other than the P5A and a relatively bigger amp. But the P5A just doesn't have the damage. So if you're going to hunt a bigger mob like this, you got to do the damage. The armor that I'm using is a mix of zombie and adjusted pixie with, oh, I showed it earlier, what the hell was it? 4C? Mark 4C plates, which offer electric and impact protection, which is the primary damage of Allophils. And, yeah, definitely my favorite mob. I mean, nostalgic reasons only, not because they drop great loot. I would imagine that they still drop ESIs occasionally, although I haven't seen any yet. I know they used to, because I used to loot them off of them. But we'll see. We'll see what happens here. I'm going to finish up the 100, and then I'm going to head to Rocktropia. And then after that, maybe Cyrene or Arcadia. I kind of have to get back to Arcadia to update my resource map, so kind of a constant work in progress. Going back to the zombie armor, it's reasonable armor for you know what it is, electricity based somewhat armor. It's just somewhat rare right now. And again, it's an armor set that used to be fairly common. And with this setup, with the zombie and the 4C, I can, you know, handle these mobs in only, I think in my 300 to 400 ped hunt last night, I took 3 ped decay on the whole armor setup. So, but that's something I'm fairly good at. I mean, before I even go out and consider a mob, I spend a lot of time on Entropedia and trying, not only looking at like the best economy armor, but seeing, you know, what's available. You gotta spend time on auction and game, or running around to different shops. So, you know, this just happened to be a great little eco setup for these mobs. I'm healing a little bit more often than I'd like to, but at the same time, I really need to get some healing skills, so it does help out. I'd much rather heal and get the skills than absorb damage through the armor and have a huge repair bill. I'd rather turn those the repair bill into healing skills, so the little amount that you get, but at least it's something. So yeah, I don't expect to get much from these guys today. They just don't seem to be looting good at all. Other than that 35 petter, or whatever it was earlier. We talked about in the last video trying to get some avatars together. Still waiting on a couple people, a couple responses and whatnot, and I'm gonna see what we're gonna do about that. And that's as far as the fashion and uniqueness is concerned about your avatar. If you have a really cool dressed up looking avatar, let me know. I've seen a couple of really awesome ones. A couple people send me some inbox messages with emails attached, pictures attached, and that's awesome. Some really cool stuff out there. So I really want to kind of get that fashion video up and running as soon as possible. And, hopefully it'll turn out to be good. I mean, turn out alright. The hunting video, the team hunt video that I mentioned in the last video, we could do a couple different ones. Someone had mentioned like a quad hunt in space for pirates. That would be cool. I would like to see about 12 of us out there. But I think what it would end up being is just everybody killing each other. And I guess that could somewhat be comedic as well. That's definitely a cool idea, and I am not going to dismiss it at all, but I am going to put a little more thought into it. So we will think about that a little bit more, and I'll get back to the community in that regard. As far as other team hunts, I was thinking of like just a mass Apollo, so that pretty much everybody can get involved, and just kind of a fun-oriented team hunt on something probably around 1,000 to 1,500 HP. Like these guys would fall into that place, but these guys with the electric damage, I don't know if I would want to attempt it. But primarily, the Apollo hunts that we used to do, I mean, you would get one shot killed anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And I think that's what made it so fun. It's just kind of like, how long can you last? It's almost like a shared loot event for newer players. Because the shared loot is pretty much the same way, except that a lot of people are there with their huge fancy guns and armor, but they still get one shot killed, so... I was killing some robots north of Corinth the other night, and I think my biggest loot was like 10 or 11 ped, and that's with the, actually I think I was using Cap 32, maybe it was the same gun here, I'm not sure, but let's do one more. I kind of figure I wasn't going to global on this, but I figure we'll get something different out there other than mining, because mining has just been, oh my god, mining's been so boring lately. Oh my god, it's just crazy, terribly boring. I still do it, I mean, obviously I love it. And I'm still doing alright with it, Break even, little profit here, little profit there, break even, lose a tiny little bit of ped, break even, so... It is what it is, guys. Anyway, thanks for watching. Let's loot this bitch. And I'll see you in the next video.